Well, hey, and welcome to the Creative Corner podcast. My name is Noah Black. I'm your host, and just want to say thank you guys so much for jumping in, whether you are an artist, a musician, a designer, whatever, any part of the spectrum of creative. Just want to say thank you for jumping in. Please be sure to subscribe, whether you're listening through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or watching through YouTube. We want to say thank you. And today, man, I'm really pumped about this guest. He is all over the place. He is in all sorts of different areas of creative arts and stuff. And so this guy is a vocalist for the metal band Heirloom, as well as a stand-up comic, all sorts. So please welcome Nolan Smith to the podcast. So, man, just to dive right in, man, I want to talk. You're the first stand-up comic to be on the podcast. So
your first retired stand-up comic.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
I might do it again one day. We'll see.
I'm really interested in that because of, especially like in North Carolina, it's not like a very like what's the term I would use? It's not like a heavily sought after thing that a lot of people do in North Carolina, as much as like with bands or something like that. And so just wanted to like ask like what initially got you into that from the beginning, and then kind of like where you said, I know you said you're recently retired, but
yeah, I got my retirement plaque hanging up in my office. Well, if you want to take it back, I probably wanted to do like stand up and comedy and like acting and that kind of stuff long before I wanted to do like band stuff. Right. I did like, I think the first time I did stand up was at like my 8th grade talent show, and I just kind of, I forget what even I talked about, but I just like kind of like ripped on my teachers or whatever. And then I remember like my principal was like in the front row, like not even like breaking her face, like not even like breaking just the, I'm the administrator, I don't know how to laugh kind of face. So that was cool. And then I did it like at like talent shows in high school, and then like for a while, long before I even found music or whatever, I was kind of set on like I want to try to do some sort of making people laugh or something like that on stage or whatever. So I did that, but I never actually started like performing out at like clubs or anything until I was a little bit older. Probably like 22 or so. I'm 26 now. Uh-huh. Yeah, so this like early 2017 was when I started like actually performing. But it was after like I was in like some bands like when I was younger and stuff. And then once I got out of high school and kind of got into like my freshman year of college era, they just kind of died down. And so I was like, all right, well, that was fun. I guess, I'm not really meant to do music or whatever, so I'm going to try to do comedy. Then I kept doing that for a while. Long story short, ended up, living out of my car for a while. And then I was in like the western part of the United States, like Colorado area. And I did a lot of stand up out there. And then once I moved back here, I started trying to do it more frequently. And it's fun. It's really fun. It's just very hit or miss. And it's just you on stage. You don't have a band or anything behind you. Yeah. So if you say something that people don't laugh at, then it's on you. Whatever. It's all on you. So yeah, it's really intimidating depending on where you are. And the biggest thing that bugged me was like, I went and I did comedy in Denver, and the jokes or the lines or whatever that like freaking killed out there. I would come back and do something at like the Idiot Box in Greensboro or something, and like it would tank, and I was like, oh no, like I'm expecting that to land, and it doesn't do anything. Vice versa, the stuff you say that you don't think is funny will get more laughs or whatever. Right. So it's real hit or miss. It's really funny or fun. I definitely enjoy like if you get into the groove of it, it's really great. Like sometimes you'll just be up there and you'll be like, all right, I'm in the zone right now. Like I'm, nobody can touch me. I'm the man or whatever. And then sometimes you get up there and it's just like, I need to, go away for a long time. It's really intimidating.
So you said that you started stand up at a pretty early age. Like who were some of your favorite stand up comics?
So there's a guy named Pete Holmes who's really good. He's one of the first guys I listened to. There's a guy named Kyle Cease who was really good, and he doesn't even do comedy anymore. He's like a motivational speaker now.
Oh, wow.
And like not the fun kind, like very like you're doing this to make money or something.
Right.
But he was really good. And then like now I like Tom Segura is really funny. I like, man, I'm blanking. Kyle Kinane is really good. He's actually the voice of like, if you watch like Comedy Central, he's the guy that his voice is on the commercials. It's like, coming up at 9, we have a new episode of blah, 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 blah. He's that guy. But his actual stand-up is like really, like a lot of those guys are really funny, but the stuff they're saying is like, it's like, you're depressed. I mean, I guess it's like a give and take, you know, sometimes the saddest, most, you know, messed up people in the head or whatever are sometimes the funniest. And
right. Yeah.
I don't know.
So during your time of like doing stand-up yourself, what was like your favorite or your most interesting moment on stage?
Favorite was whenever I got to perform at this place called Comedy Works in Denver, as like their like new talent night or whatever. And to get on the stage, you have to call into like this hotline every week. Yeah, and they have like 300 people that call in every week, and they only put 12 on the show every week.
Wow.
So I was out there. It was kind of weird because I was all over the place while I was out there because I was like didn't really have a stable job or didn't really have like a, you know, home or anything.
Sure.
So just kind of wandering around. But I would call in for months. I would just call in and be like, you know, you just leave your name. You don't have to like audition or anything. You just leave your name, and then if they pick you, they pick you. And then it took me probably like 6 or 7 months worth of calling in. And then there was one day, I kid you not, it was like straight out of a movie. I had like gotten fired from my job for like some stupid thing. I worked at Planet Fitness so I could get free showers while I was homeless. But I ended up getting fired for like being on my phone or something stupid. Even though I was working like third shift and nobody was there. I got like fired for that, and then some other stuff happened, and I was like, all right, I'm about to just say screw it and just go back home. And then I stopped at like a rest stop on my way out there, like as I got close to Kansas. And then the next morning it was Wednesday, which is the day they like announced the list. And I was like, whatever, I'm just going to call in. And then I was like, this week, you know, we have Jacob so-and-so, this and this and this, Nolan Smith, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, what? I just hear my name. And so I called in like 12 more times just to like, cause I thought I was hearing stuff, you know? And then I like called my mom and like called my best friend and was like, should I do this thing? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, you should do it. I'm like, all right, cool. So I did it, and it was really fun. The way they make you do it, you only get a 2-minute set, so you're not up there for very long. But the way they make you do it is once you're there, like everybody that comes in, they make them like put their phones away. So they still have their phones, but they're in like these little magnetic plastic cases. So you can't check it unless you like go outside and get somebody to open it for you. So everybody is like fully attentive. So you go up there and say something that's like half funny, and you get like 400 people laughing at it. So you're like, man, it's going to be good when I actually get to the funny stuff.
Yeah, that's all. What's one memory of like you talked about? There's times where jokes work and then jokes tank. Like, what's one of those memorable? Like, oh man, that fell so flat.
Probably just like a smaller, like I'm trying to think if there were any bigger ones. There was definitely like a bigger like talent thing that I did when I was younger that kind of tanked. But as far as like clubs stuff go, I think it was probably going from performing at that place, Comedy Works, and then I came home to North Carolina and performed in Greensboro a few months later, and I remember doing the exact same jokes and just nothing. Like it would just be like one person in the back's just like, huh. And you're like, whoa, wow, this is really bad.
I bet that like 2-minute set probably felt like 3.5 hours too.
Oh, it did too. And I have a real bad habit of whenever I'm on stage, I talk super fast too, just maybe out of nervousness or out of, you know, whatever. It felt longer, but I was like, dang, I actually got done in like 1:45 because my biggest thing was I don't want somebody to like cut me off. I want to be done, you know, because it's the same thing with like when you're in a band and like you don't want to go over your set time or something. I was kind of used to that. Yeah, it makes you feel a certain type of way because you're like, man, I'm supposed to be cool, man. I did this in Denver, like where, and the place where I performed in Denver, the Comedy Works, they have like during the new talent nights, they'll randomly just like have a celebrity guest. Like the night that, like one of the nights, it wasn't the night that I played, but one of the nights they had like Dave Chappelle was just randomly there, or like Ron White or somebody. And then the night that I performed, this guy Josh Blue, he was there. He had won Last Comic Standing like a few years ago.
Oh, that's cool.
So he was really cool. I didn't really get to talk to him or anything, but I remember as soon as my set was done, I walked off and he was one of the guys that was like patted me on the back. It was like, good set, man. And I'm like, oh my God, you're on TV.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. Yeah, and just to talk through, so how I'd gotten to like hear about you, and I know we're not like super close or anything like that, but I gotten to know you. I feel like once again, we just had another guest on, and I mentioned this guy's name, and I feel like we've mentioned his name 1,000 times. But Wes Moore from The Worshiper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna say Hayden, but I didn't know you had Wes on too.
Yeah. So Wes, I initially heard from you first from doing guest vocals on one of their songs, 1430.
Oh wow, yeah, that's been a minute.
Yeah. And then after that, I didn't know like what your music background was. Apart from that, I was like, man, this guy sounds sick. But then Hayden Fletcher, he had, whenever you guys had released Trauma, you guys with Heirloom released Trauma, he was like, bro, you gotta check out this band. It's Nolan's band and blah, 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 blah. And I listened to it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And so like, just to talk through a little bit for the listeners, kind of give a little bit of backstory on how Heirloom kind of formed together and then where you guys are at now.
So it was kind of like two different bands almost. But so the guys that are in it, the core of it started out as just Kevin, Austin, and Nick, guitar, bass, drummer. And they had played together like since they were in high school. And then Kevin posted something on Facebook a couple of times, like looking for a vocalist. And I had known him just through like the music scene or something. I don't think we'd ever hung out or talked or anything, but I know he had like take pictures. There was like a local band photographer and stuff, and he took a lot of good pictures. And I was like, oh, cool. He's starting a band. You know, I haven't really been in a band in a few years. I'll give it a shot, you know. And I hit him up, and I came out to a practice and met the other guys. And then just we kept doing some practices and some writing. And, you know, when I first joined, I was just kind of like, oh, you know, this will be kind of like a fun little thing, I guess, because, you know, I didn't think it would pick up nearly as fast or as big as it did.
Right.
But I joined up with them, and I had done like a solo project a few years ago, like an internet band or whatever, with just a few songs. And so I pretty much like I still had like the Facebook and the Instagram for that. And then, so I pretty much like whenever we formed this, like kind of just put that, kind of combined it, I guess. Yeah. So just like changed the name, and we only had like 200 likes or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like changed the name of everything and just kind of rebranded it as Heirloom once we decided as that. And then we recorded like 2 or 3 songs before we even like announced that we were a band, because we were trying to do the whole sneaky thing, and I guess it worked. But yeah, it was pretty much, I had never met any of them before. And then that happened. We started recording, and then eventually, you know, announced. We put out Trauma, and then we played our first couple of shows that later on that month. Right. And then fast forward to now, or to, you know, a little bit before, one of our friends, his name's Michael Evans. I've known him for about 5 years. He used to work at the old studio where we recorded at, and he was just kind of always around, always a good, you know, friend and everything. And he played guitar. And then he actually recently joined as our second guitar player while we were at the studio this last time recording our EP or album, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so like I feel like everybody over the last year has been, you know, struggling to do stuff or all that. But so how's Heirloom been doing during the pandemic?
Man, we it's been the best and the worst time, vice versa. Like, it sounds weird, but like, I know a lot of bands have like broken up or kind of whatever, but like in a messed up way, it's kind of like, I'm kind of thankful for it's kind of like a weird little reset that we all kind of needed, I guess. We went, honestly, so our song Heart and Spine that we put out last year, we recorded that up in Maryland, literally like 2 days before the shutdown happened.
Oh,
like,
wow.
We got home that week, and like next thing I know, it was like the world was shutting down. So we were like, what the heck is going on? So we had to wait a few months, but then eventually we went back up there last July and recorded the rest of it. And we just kind of noticed that like everybody else was just either not doing music or had broken up or wasn't trying to hold on to stuff. Like, we're not going to release it until touring comes back. Right. But we were like, well, I mean, there's no competition right now, so if you put out music, people are probably going to listen to it.
You're in good shape.
So it's been definitely tough, but it's been a good little time. Like, we're honestly going to come out of the other side of it, like our first show back or whatever, it's going to not sound like the same band. And I know that's like a typical like band thing response, like, oh, we're going to grow and we created the best version of our whatever. But it's like, it's going to sound, because we have another guitar player now, and then we have like all new songs. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be different. It's going to be a lot. People aren't going to really, the people that have already heard the newer stuff have been like, what? You guys are heavy now. It's like, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and to bank off that, man, you guys just released the song Accuser, and
we did.
Bro, there's some people that I'll talk to and like have conversation with where I'll just say, oh yeah, your song was great, and it's kind of like, to be very honest, and like hate saying this publicly, but like it's just for like the PR of it. But like, I say this genuinely, like from the bottom of my heart, like this song is really, really, really good. Like,
thanks,
really
man.
Excellently. Like, you guys, like production wise, you guys have sounded good since Trauma, since I've listened to you. But there's very much something, like you said, it's very different with this stuff. And so just specifically with this song, talk a little bit about the song for the person who's listening and who maybe hasn't listened to the song, and just to dive into it.
Sure. Yeah. So we put out a song last Friday. Oh, it's been a week. Wow. Cool. Today's the 23rd. Last Friday was the 16th, and we put out Accuser. It's a pretty straightforward verse, chorus, verse kind of song, but you can, for all the people that don't normally listen to screamo music, you can understand what I'm saying pretty well. So that's kind of cool. And actually, that song was one of the first 3 songs we ever wrote. We just had it on the back burner forever, and we didn't ever think we were going to record it because we were like, it's older or whatever. So we actually played that song, an old version of it, at like our first show.
Oh, wow.
It was completely like different. I mean, it's the same core song, but it was a different structure or whatever, and definitely doesn't sound nearly as cool as it does now. We were cutting a song from the record whenever we were recording, and then I was like, well, we have these other like demos if you want to listen to these. And Chris, our producer, he heard the chorus and was like, yeah, we got to keep that. And I'm like, all right, cool, I guess, because we were all kind of burnt out on it. We were like, this song kind of sucks, we don't really care. And then we actually went in there and redid it, and now we put it out, and it's like, cool. I'm glad people actually got to hear it and are not hating on it. It's going over really well. Like, people, like a few people were like, man, this is your best one yet. And I'm like, well, it was written way before a lot of these other ones. So I'm glad people like it, but I'm just, it's always the whole, like, just wait on the next one. Just wait on the next one.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty good. We got a lot of good press over it. I definitely, dumped some like marketing money into it to try to get it out there. Yeah. And then I'm going to do the same thing with our other stuff. Yeah. Because I think we have like 7-8 songs recorded, and we're just going to release most of it as singles, and then like put the EP out or whatever with like 2 new songs. Yeah. So it should be pretty good. But yeah, I like Accuser. It's fun. It's catchy. I'm glad that we still have it. Like whenever we originally cut it a long time ago, I was kind of bummed, but I'm glad it made its way back.
Yeah, for sure. And even like you said, I mean, it's the marketing side of it. Like it's picked up well. I mean, like I just saw a post where Ghost Killer Entertainment was like doing a review on it and stuff, and so thought that's really cool. With that, like you mentioned as well, that it's with you pulling it back, you're glad of the reception of it. But like you said, like there's always that anticipation for what's next. Out of the songs you guys have out now, like what would you say is your personal favorite?
Out of the ones that are currently out?
Currently out, yeah. Right
now, I mean, it's probably obvious answer. I'd say our new one or Heart and Spine. Well, our first three singles, Trauma, After All, and Empty Below, were all recorded down here with a local producer that we've known for a few years. Mm-hmm. And then whenever we were getting ready to write new stuff, we had played a show at the end of 2019 in Columbia, South Carolina, and our friends Harm had played. I don't know, you probably know them. Yeah. They played, and their keyboard player, Andrew Simmons, he took a video of us playing a new song and sent it to a friend of his, and that friend is a producer and the guitar player for The Ghost Inside.
Oh, wow.
Chris Davis. So then he was like, cool, this band sounds sick. I would love to, record their songs. And so we ended up getting in touch, and we had a little thing with our old studio where, no bad blood or whatever. It was just kind of awkward. Like, hey, we got this opportunity. We're not going to say no to this. So we had to, switch studios and all that. And he's based up in Maryland, so that's where we were going. Yeah. And then we went up there last March and did Heart and Spine. So but yeah, so he to answer your question, I like out of the two, I mean, probably like Accuser more just because it's straightforward and stuff. But I'll go back and listen to Heart and Spine just for the breakdown sometimes. But
so what's your songwriting process like?
Mine personally is I just kind of like let them do their thing instrumentally, and then once there's like a core, I'll just kind of come over it. There, different approaches. Sometimes, like if we're really feeling it, like at practice, we'll just be jamming, and we've all kind of been playing together long enough where we can kind of like read each other's like cues or eye contact or something while we're in the middle of jamming, so you can kind of know what comes next. Like, oh, we're gonna drop it out here, or we're gonna, Nick's going to do this fill here or whatever. So I usually won't even have words or something until like later on. Right. Like I'll usually just kind of feel like what's the song sound like mood wise. And then I'll just kind of improvise some and we'll make it work. Yeah. But yeah, for our last one, I say last one, it's not even out yet. Jesus. Our EP that we did right before we went to the studio, we had all of our pre-pro instrumental, and I literally, like, a couple nights before we recorded pre-production vocals, I was, like, staying up all night at the laptop just, like, writing lyrics. Like, I had lyrics written, but I was, like, putting them into the patterns or whatever. Right. So I'll usually just, like, if I think of a cool line or think of a theme or a message or whatever, I'll try to write it down, like, in my phone notes. And then usually whenever I put lyrics together, I'm seriously just, like, pulling from like multiple notes in my like iPhone notes app, and just kind of put something together and then try to figure out like, oh, this would sound good as a hook or something. Let's repeat that. And then some stuff, you write something that you think sounds cool, and then once you bring it up to everybody, they're like, this sucks. Take out, move this over here. And I mean, you get your feelings hurt but it's like, if it's going to make it sound better, I don't really care.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And it's cool to hear from different songwriters, like what their process is, because it's always, there's some people that they have like a core, I pick up a guitar and I start singing or whatever, and it comes together.
Yeah, then, like,
for other people, it's it's vastly different. So it's always really interesting.
Yeah, everybody has a different method, and I'll hear people explain their methods of songwriting or this or that, and I'm like, that sounds like a lot, man. I just kind of I just kind of, wait for them to do the hard work, and then I get over there and just do the screamos over it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's a friend of mine. He does like very singer-songwriter, like John Mayer type stuff. And he's a big music theory guy, and he's like, I write out everything on paper, and I do it to this and that, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, good for you. You're spending an extra like hour to what I would be spending 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like totally.
Yeah,
good. But
I'll
each their own.
I'll hear the guys talk about like whenever they're talking, and like I call it just whatever. It sounds like a different language, like music theory. They're talking music theory, and then they're talking like when they're talking about their gear and like pedals and stuff. Like my brain is just making like dial up. Like, do you remember on SpongeBob where he turns on the orb of confusion, and Patrick's like, ooh, and he's like, dude, it's off. Like I already turned the switch off, and he's still freaking out. Like that's me the whole time they're talking about it, so.
Yeah, so on songwriting, like who are some like songwriters or other just musicians, I guess, that have influenced you?
Influenced me? Okay, all right. So it's super weird. Like a lot of people compare us to like Moths to Flames, and I'm like, that is awesome. But I never meant for that to be a thing. Like I love that band, and I listen to them. I'm not gonna lie and I'm not gonna do the Greta Van Fleet Led Zeppelin thing and be like, I've never even heard that band. Because he totally did. If you look it up, the Greta Van Fleet vocalist, he's like, yeah, I never even listened to Led Zeppelin. It's like, yeah, you did, dude. Like you sound just like him. But anyway, yeah. So the biggest one for me was like Underwrote, or like a lot of the Christcore bands and the like. From like 2008 to 2012, like Much to My Bride and like A Plea for Purging and like Haste the Day, and just a lot of those bands. Like For Today was another one. I'm trying to think. I don't really know like songwriters though, because I'm not a musician. I'm just a very loud DJ, a very loud hype man. That should have been a youth pastor. Should have kept going, man. I was close. Yeah, I don't know. Those are probably the big ones, and then I'm trying to think of like older ones. Like I love all the like old screamo stuff. Like The Used was a big one, big influence, and then like all the like it sounds kind of whatever, but like I'm in my 20s now, so I don't really care. But like all the bands that were on like the old like WWE games and like Madden games and stuff, like that's how I found like Breaking Benjamin back in the day, and like Linkin Park and like all those, like it's you pull influence from those without even realizing it. Because I'll be going to do stuff now, and like we did some show sometime, I don't even know when, because time is non-existent anymore, but we were playing, and I guess I did kind of like the little singy scream thing, and like one of our older friends was like, bro, you got a little Chester thing going on, man. And I'm like, cool. I'll take it. Like Linkin Park is dope.
I remember us like growing up back in the day, and like we would play Tony Hawk Underground and Tony Hawk Underground 2, and the soundtracks off of those, we were like
so great, living
in the nostalgia like all the time. Like we do it now with the Pro Skater 1 and 2 just did the remaster, and so like we'll turn off the soundtrack that's on there and then just pull up like a Spotify playlist of the Underground 1 and Underground 2.
It's the best. It is the best genre of music. It's just like that, like old punky whatever stuff that's in like early 2000s video games. Like that's how I found like the Black Eyed Peas. That sounds weird, but they had a song on, it was like WWE WrestleMania 21 or something that I had on the original Xbox. And I would rent it from like, because it was before like GameStop was really big. I would rent it from like this like local like game store or whatever, and you just keep it for like a week and then return it. And on there it has a song that had, it was like Black Eyed Peas featuring Papa Roach. And it had like the dude doing the verses, like rap or whatever, and then on the chorus it was the guy from Papa Roach. And I had never heard that genre of music before. Like I had never even, y'all are from Charlotte, so I'm sure you know like 106.5 or whatever.
Yeah.
So back in the day, 106.5 played good music, and in 2005 or whatever. Like I get on there, that's how I heard like the song like "Looking Back at Me, I Never Really Wanted to." Like all those songs like were on there, and like you found them in like a old game or something. Like that's how I found Breaking Benjamin was in WrestleMania 21 because they were in like the menu screen, and then I found like Bullet for My Valentine or something through like Madden. Or like Avenged Sevenfold and those bands and stuff. And you go through like, because I'm like 13 at that time or whatever, and then you get to the point where you're like, people try to get all gatekeepy about like, oh, well, you can't listen to like butt rock, you got to listen to metal, or you got to listen to this or that. Like people like would make fun of you for having like Asking Alexandria on your iPod or whatever. But now I'm like, dude, I don't care. It's all good. I don't know. What influences you, whether you can, it's basically like there's no such thing as a guilty pleasure. Like if I hear a hook from like I don't know, Katy Perry song or something, it's like, okay, or Lady Gaga or whatever. Like I love that like 2007, 2008, like pop, like it's so like whatever was popular back then, it just takes me to a certain place. I don't know. We were all there. Like showing up to youth group and being like, y'all listen to this band Skillet, dude, they're super heavy. Skillet is heavy though, dude. I don't care. Skillet is dope. Well, that one album with the like Comatose album.
Oh yeah. I remember like Collide was the jam now, and then I don't know what they're on now.
I don't know, man. If you watch a lot of their recent stuff, it's like it's really good. Don't get me wrong. It's just like, whoa, that's a lot. Like y'all are full pyro, like they hit a certain sweet spot too, and I'm so jealous of this because it might happen with Heirloom because we're going to be a big Christcore band, even though we say the F word in a couple of songs. It's all good. But like Skillet, I remember before in like 07, 06, they were just known as like, oh, they're like a Christian rock band or whatever. And then they had that song Monster that came out. Yeah. And it was like 3 Days Grace sounding. And it was on like all the big stations. And then that kind of put them in that like big hard rock arena. So now they're at a weird point where they can play all the big rock festivals and they can also play all the big Christian festivals.
Right. Yeah. It works out great for them.
Man, you got it. Y'all really did it.
Yeah. It's like they opened up for Nickelback one tour and then they opened up for Casting Crowns the next one.
But also because they're in that Christian market, they'll play literally, they played a festival in Florida a couple years ago called the Florida Strawberry Festival, which is like a bunch of like old people just, I don't know, like there's strawberries and stuff. I've never been there. It's like a fair thing. And like the other performers were like Reba McEntire and like a bunch of like country artists and then just Skillet. And I'm like, that's so awesome.
Bro, that works out great on their side.
That's super dope. And the next thing you know, they're going to be opening for some, Disturbed or Avenged Sevenfold or like you said, Nickelback. Like it's like they got that sweet spot where they can just kind of do whatever.
Yeah, it was really funny. I was just at a conference in South Carolina this past week, and there was this pastor there that was talking about. He just randomly mentioned as a part of his sermon. He just went, "Anybody know the band Amberlin?" And like I'm like, "Yeah." And then you hear this dude from like the back row like, "Whoa!" I mean, he was like, he was pumped. But then he talked about like how funny it was that. It was Amberlin. He said he went to this one tour. It was Amberlin, The Devil Wears Prada, and Underwrote. He went with like one of the guys from his youth group, and that was like the youth that like the guy that he was with had like bought him a ticket and stuff. And he was like, what was funny was they were playing at the Masquerade wherever it was. And they have like the upper floor, which is called Heaven, which is the stage upstairs, and then they have the lower floor, which is Hell. And he said they played the Hell stage, and so he was like, it was cool because you had these like 3 Christian bands that were playing the Hell stage.
That's sick, yeah. Because the Masquerade, because I've been there one time to see As Cities Burn play. They played a 10-year tour of Son, I Loved You at Your Darkest album. And I drove all the way to Atlanta by myself. Uh-huh. And I had never been to Atlanta, and I did not know that it was Atlanta. Traffic was a thing, and there were like 12 lanes. And I literally like called my mom and was like, I might not make it back. And I went down there and saw them. And Heaven, it's like Heaven, Hell, and Purgatory. They have 3 stages there.
Oh, that's wild. Who plays Purgatory?
Yeah.
Catholics?
Wait, what?
I said, who plays Purgatory? Catholics?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, if you play Purgatory, I feel like that's kind of a backhanded thing. It's like, wait, I don't even get to play like heaven or hell. It's like, no, you're not cool enough to play either of those. You get Purgatory, which I think Purgatory might be a better stage, but I'm not sure. Who's
probably your favorite band you've ever seen live, no matter whatever genre? Like, who's been your favorite?
Probably Underwrote. I saw them on the only time I've ever saw them was on their comeback tour in 2016.
Oh man!
And that was in Atlanta too. That was at I forget where. It was at some like music hall. I forget, but it was just great because we drove all the way down there and like we went to like the aquarium, or excuse me, we didn't go to the aquarium. We were gonna go to the aquarium. We went to the Coca-Cola factory, which was cool. There's no, stingrays or anything there, but it's whatever. I wanted to go to the aquarium. They wanted to go to whatever. I'm still mad about it. It's like, I got outvoted. Underwrote was really good. Cause they played like both of those albums. They played their Only Chasing Safety and Define the Great Line all the way through. They were sick. And I got to crowd surf for Dangerous Business, Walking Out Your Front Door.
Yes.
They were really good. Every Time I Die is a really good band I've seen live. I saw them a few years ago in Charlotte, I think at the Underground. It was Beartooth, Fit for a King, Every Time I Die, and Old Wounds.
Yeah, bro, that show. So we were there as well.
Word.
And it was crazy. I remember we talked about before, like, as much as like we love Beartooth, but like for me, and then like Tyler could agree, Fit for a King's my favorite metal band.
Word, yeah.
And then I think Fit for a King's Tyler's favorite band.
No question. My favorite band.
But we went to that show, and it was like Fit for a King was like next to opening, I think, where they were the second band, right? And their crowd was like the rowdiest out of the entire show. Maybe Every Time I Die is debatable, but the crowd during that was so nuts, man.
So I feel kind of bad because little backstory. So the solo project that I did a few years ago, it was called Remove the Earth. That project, Bobby from Fit for a King played guitar on there.
Oh wow!
Wrote the parts and stuff because I hit him up and was just like, hey, like I don't have a band, but like if you write some stuff, like I'll pay you for it, and then I'll do vocals over it, and then I'll get it recorded with a producer. And I did, and it was pretty cool. That's where like if you go on like Heirloom Spotify, the songs Expand and Severance are both Remove the Earth songs. Like those are not Heirloom songs. I just put them on there because I'm like, I own the rights to this, so why not? Yeah, and like I'd rather have that than like two different bands and have to explain a thing. I'd rather just be like, boop, there we go.
Then you get to perform them as Heirloom songs.
Yeah, right. Well, we're never gonna play those, at least not in my lifetime. But so long story short, I did that, and then Fit for a King came to town, and I hit up Bobby and was like, hey man, like can I get put on guest list? And he was like, dude, just hit me up whenever, man. I got you. And I'm like, cool, dude, I appreciate it. So I went to that show. +1 because my friend Caleb, he's like the biggest Every Time I Die fan. Mm-hmm. And so we got in because Bobby was guest listing us, but we're driving all the way from Greensboro to Charlotte, and we get like stuck in traffic and stuff. And we get there and we go all the way we get in line, go all the way to the front. We're like, hey, we have comp tickets. It's under this name. And he's like, oh, you're gonna have to go to the box office. So we have to go all the way up to the box office, which, Fillmore, there's 2 venues there. So it's a lot of walking. So we go all the way to the box office. I get our tickets, and then it's like, cool, got them. Go in, and then as soon as we walk in, it's like, we are Fit for a King. Have a good night. And I'm like, no. I feel so bad because I got in for free, but it was like, dude, all right, well, you ready for Every Time I Die? And then we saw them, and we did not stay for Beartooth because I didn't drive, and my boy was like, got to get home, and I'm like, cool, man, sounds good. Yeah, but I saw Beartooth before, so it was all good.
Yeah, they're definitely.
I was
really
mainly there for E-Tid and Fit though.
Yeah, that's sick, man. So you mentioned earlier that like big Underwrote fan, all this stuff. So we have to settle a debate because 2 of us are on the same page, 1 of us is not. What is your favorite Underwrote album?
Oh God, Lost in the Sound of Separation.
Ooh, really? That's a very different answer. Yeah,
I was gonna say Define the Great Line, but expect the unexpected.
So Define the Great Line is your second choice, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, me and Aaron they're only chasing safety.
Oh, boo. That's not even Underwrote, dude. That's like it's great. Don't get me wrong. It's legendary. Like, the first Underwrote song I ever heard was the, like, can you feel your heartbeat racing? That was the first one I ever heard. And that was on that album. And that album has some great ones, like Young and Aspiring. It was freaking awesome. They opened with that whenever we saw them in Atlanta, dude. It was so cool.
Yeah.
But that album I don't really listen to as much. Like Define the Great Line, I listen to a lot more. And then I practice vocals to some of the songs on there.
Right.
But Lost in the Sound, dude, like, I listened to that right after it came out, and it just hit a very special spot for me, I guess. I just really needed it. It's a lot darker, like, lyrically, but it's really, really good and well put together. And this sounds, like, kind of cheesy, too, but there's a line off of that has really stuck with me, because there was a song on there that was playing right before I got into a car crash one time, and I, like...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like some straight out of like a movie, like one of those movies they show you at youth and be like, you better pray or you'll go to hell. Like, like you better be careful. Like, you know, this could be you someday. And it was literally like I got T-boned on my driver's side, but it was like in the back seat and I was the only one driving. But my car spun like 4 times or whatever. Ooh. And I was listening to Underwrote right before I got hit, and it was literally, I kid you not, I was 18. It was the line that was like, should I jump? Should I stay? Could I make another day? Bam! Hit. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was so like, really? I didn't get hurt or anything. And like, it was pouring down rain. I was real lucky and everything. But I totaled my first car like that. But yeah, that album, long story short, it's just been like certain like lines or certain themes on the album just kind of stood with me throughout life, so I just kind of go back to that.
Yeah, definitely like a right place, right time with an album.
Yeah, like Desperate Times, Desperate Measures, that song is really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And then the opening track is really good. I'm blanking on the name of it, but it's like, I'm the desperate and you're the savior. Yeah.
About, man, I've really looked forward to getting to see them live. And we had, Tyler had gotten me tickets to see them with Slipknot.
And Slipknot, A Day to Remember, and Code Orange. Code Orange, yeah. I thought that was a drink for a second. I was like, that ain't right.
But bro, was so looking forward to that show, and then that was one of the ones that got canceled because COVID. So.
Oh man, that would have been so great. That would be a cool lineup.
I want to see Slipknot so bad, man.
We have this almost weekly reminder, just like through text, like, "Hey, just your weekly reminder. We were about to see these guys."
Like you go on like Facebook Memories or something, and you see it on there. Like,
well, like what stinks for me is like some of the concert tickets that I bought are still showing up in my phone. They're like the e-ticket thing.
No!
So like if I double click on my phone, I can still see that I have a ticket for Fit for a King from March 26th of last year that I never got to go to.
Oh man, and that was such a good tour too. They were it was the Dark Sky.
It was Dark Skies. Yeah.
It was like them, Alpha Wolf, Chelsea Grin, Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
Bro, I want to see Crystal Lake so bad.
Dude, they even just their live videos, man. Like I'll send it to you if you haven't seen it. But there's a video of them playing like this festival in Spain a couple years ago, and as soon as they come out, like what looks like 1 million people are just leaping. Because that front man is just so much energy, dude.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "We are Crystal Lake, let's go!" Like he's just so into it. Like he's screaming the whole time. Like I've heard because I've heard a lot of conversations with like the Fit for a King guys talking about them, and they're like, dude, seeing them play in Japan to their own like crowd is like unworldly
on different levels. Yeah, that would be wild, man. Have you listened to the Fit for a King and Silent Planet collab yet?
Yeah, the split. Yeah, it sounds dope. I really liked it.
Yeah, big. We've been talking about Fit for a King and Silent Planet for a while. I remember we had just filmed the podcast and released it, and we were like, man, Fit for a King and Silent Planet, we feel like they have to release something soon. And then literally it was just a few weeks later, and they both released that collab project. It's nuts, man. And
it's really cool, and I like the fact that it's like them covering each other's songs.
Yeah,
like that's a really cool cool trend that I hope continues in
me
metal
too, man.
is just like more collaboration like that.
Yeah, and then they did like the whole I love the collaborative merch line. I know they did.
Yeah,
theirs.
that's dope. Because then they donated the money, I'm pretty sure, to like Ryan's wife had surgery or something.
Yeah, I ordered one of the hoodies. I'm excited for that to show up.
Yeah, that's cool. And then
super cool.
Crystal Lake did one as well. They did one with Spirit Box, like beginning of COVID, I think, and that one was really sick. That's whenever.
Word.
Yeah, Rio did Holy Roller with Spirit Box.
He did that one, which is super dope. I didn't know. Did they drop like merch or anything?
Yeah, they did a whole. I don't know if it's up or not, but they did a whole collaborative Spirit Box Crystal Lake merch line similar to Fit for King. So, bro, I hope it's a trend that keeps going, especially in the metal community.
Man.
Yeah,
I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about like I listen to Tuck's podcast. A lot, and like just the conversations that they having about like feature decks and like all these like they want the community and like metal or the scene or whatever to collaborate more, because it really does bring people together. You know, the big point that they were making is I think before COVID, Fit and We Came as Romans did a split. And there were people in the comments that were like, wait, who's Ryan Kirby? Wait, who's Dave Stevens or whatever?
Right.
And they're like, how do you listen to either of these bands and not know who the singers are, you know? So they try to bridge that gap, which I think is
I forgot
cool.
that even happened too, not too long ago. And then they did a merch line with theirs as well. Like it's cool, man. It's cool to see, like, especially whenever it hits two bands that you really, really like the both of them. Like as much for us three, like as much as we love Fit for a King and as much as we love Silent Planet, for them to do. And plus, like, that you can tell that they've been friends because they tour so much together and stuff, obviously, but it's definitely something really, really cool and I think really special that
and I think Fit really helped out Silent Planet a lot in the early days. While they were still like an opening band, they like brought them on tour and like gave them advice and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's good to see it all kind of come full circle, because I don't like the whole like I got to do it this way, and I'm going to do it myself or whatever, with no help from anybody. Which, I mean, cool, do what you want or whatever. But I like seeing bands that everyone likes, kind of be friends like that. Like it just makes it more like genuine, I guess. It makes you want to support them more. Yeah. Oh,
100%. It makes it very like relational, and it's like it's as if you know the person. So I think that's super cool. But yeah, man, bro, I love to like we can. I feel like we could go on and on and on and just talk about bands all day. But,
all day, yeah.
But yeah, man, just for the people tuning in, I would love for you to do two things. One, I know we just talked about the new song Accuser. Kind of let people know how they can, where they can listen to that, where they can get access to that, and then for the person listening who wants to stay connected with you, just kind of like letting them know your social media, anything you have coming up, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we did release a new song called Accuser. Our band is called Heirloom, like a family heirloom, and HEIRLOOM, I believe. It's not air, because people will say like air, like air in a balloon or something, but you'll find it either way. And there's other bands called Heirloom too that are not metal, but I'm sure their music is pretty good too. I've listened to some of it. It's like one of them's like a gospel band and one of them's like an indie band. But so you can find us on Instagram and Twitter, everything, just at Who Is Heirloom. And you can go to our website, whoisheirloom.com. It'll take you to like all of our links. We're on Spotify. We have a few new singles out, Heirloom, Heart and Spine, and Accuser. We have some other demos up there. We have a EP that we're done recorded with, waiting to get mixed. We're going to be dropping some more singles over the summer. We're doing a live stream event in early June with Revel, a band from Charlotte, and Fractured Frames, I believe, is playing too. So that'll be cool. And then we got some stuff that we're really excited about happening in the fall. So right now it looks like, COVID and all that kind of stuff is starting to get a little bit more light at the end of the tunnel. All the vaccines are coming out and everybody's seems to be smart. The numbers are going down. So there's a lot of really, really, really cool stuff set up in the fall that is hopefully going to come to fruition.
Yeah.
And we got merch as well. It's on our website, but just type in Heirloom Accuser and you'll find it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, and you guys definitely be sure and go check out that new song. It's really sick. But yeah, man, Nolan, thank you so much for jumping on and chatting with us, man. We really appreciate you taking some time out of your day just to sit and talk with us eggheads for a little bit.
Yeah, man. So. No, I appreciate you guys having me here. I'm down to talk about this kind of stuff or whatever you want to talk about. Yeah, whenever.
For sure. Yeah, and any time that you guys have stuff going on in the future and like you need a next marketing push, we're definitely here to help you in any way we can.
Yeah, I'll send you the new stuff as soon as we get it back.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you all so much for jumping in and checking out the Creative Corner podcast. If you want to stay connected with us, we have Instagram, Creative Corner Podcast. You can go check us out, follow us there, as well as be sure to subscribe through Apple Podcasts, through Spotify, through YouTube, whatever you're checking us out from. Be sure to go check out previous content and stay updated with what we have coming up in the future. We thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.